All right. Thank you all for tuning in today. I appreciate your interest in hearing about my experiences in visiting museums both within and outside the United States. As you probably know, I gave this talk a few weeks ago to members of AARP Local Chapter 5264. Thanks to Judy Boyer, President, for that. I'm repeating it today because I want a recorded copy of it and because a few of you said you'd like to see it. Thanks again for tuning in. I'd also like to thank Richard Hunter and Elijah Felix for helping me get this talk together. Elijah has made up this Zoom call. She's made it possible for us, and I thank her for that help. If you have any problems during the talk, she's the one to get in contact with. I'd also like to have some housekeeping rules before we start. While I'm talking, all mics and cameras will be muted. If you'd like to make comments, you may type them into the comment section and we can discuss them or take questions when I finish talking. Also, make sure your screen is set to speaker view. And at the end of my talk, turn on your cameras so we are all visible on screen. Please raise your hand to be recognized to talk. There's a button for that on the bottom of your screen. Elijah will let you know when your turn has come. You may unmute your mic at that time. I recognize that many of you on this call have been to the museums I'm going to talk about. I want to be clear with everyone that I'm not a historian, I'm not a museum curator, and I'm not a scholar or anything else that would make me an expert in the field of museums. I am a Black woman, and incidentally, not a woman who happens to be Black, but a Black woman who is interested in knowing as much as I can about my people, Black people, especially Black American people. I was raised in a race-conscious family and understood from an early age that we have to struggle to gain the rights that were mentioned in our founding documents. My quest for information about us as a people and why we needed to struggle began when my consciousness began. Being Black has influenced everything about my life and will continue to do so until I die. I decided to do this talk to share with you some of what I've learned and experienced by going to museums and art galleries that focused on Black or Indigenous folks. I have visited various museums throughout my life, but since retiring 15 years ago, I've made it my mission to visit as many museums and national monuments as I am able. I've made a list of the museums I could remember having visited. Overall, I can remember visiting more than 80 museums, both large and small, within the US and outside the US. I promise I won't talk about all of them. I've gone to museums in what were old schools, previously private homes, and makeshift rooms or buildings. Small communities with local historians have preserved history in ways that larger museums might not have room for or care about. My mother, Rutherford, considered herself a local historian. She kept all kinds of information about Black people, my family included, that is now housed at Portland State's Miller Library Special Collection Division as the Burdine and Otto G. Rutherford Family Collection. The Special Collections Division is open to the public if you'd like to see her collection. I believe that local history should be preserved as well as national movements and nationally known people. Maybe it's in the blood. The major difference between older museums and newer ones is that older museums have photographs and lots to read, while newer museums have videos, holograms, and eventually, I guess, artificial intelligent docents. There is a kind of interaction with the exhibits in newer, bigger museums that older, smaller museums usually can't afford or didn't even exist when the museum was created. So why do I go to museums? Because I want to learn, especially about Black people in other places. I recognize that what Portland Public Schools taught me about US history was very short on anything about my people. Black people were slaves for a page or two, and then we moved on. I have been on a constant search to learn more about my people. Museums can teach us about ourselves and others who look like us. Going to a museum is an easy way to continue learning and to see how common our experiences are as people of color in a world dominated by colonization and slavery. It's the same history with every colonized country. First, they took the land, and then they took the children. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and even here in the United States, it's all the same. It's as if colonizers have a playbook of how to destroy the people and cultures of the land that has been stolen by the colonizing oppressors. For example, in Australia, I went to a museum to learn more about Aboriginal people. I saw a total of 6 people who were identifiably Aborigine in the 3 cities I visited, and the tour guide barely mentioned them. Their homelands or reservations are many miles away from the cities, and they experience joblessness and drug and alcohol addictions, just like many of our Native and Black Americans. This picture is a representation of an Aboriginal village. I read about the government taking the children so as to assimilate them into white society. After seeing Rabbit Proof Fence, a book and movie based on a true story of 3 mixed Aboriginal girls who were forced into a government boarding school, and 2 of whom managed to escape and walk almost 1,000 miles to their home twice. I thought only the mixed children were taken, but I read in the museum that all of the children were taken and then segregated in boarding schools. The Black children were taught labor tasks, the mixed children were taught more domestic skills, and the children who were almost white, they were adopted by white families. On a flight during the tour, I saw a documentary about an Aboriginal couple who wrote and sang songs about the separation of children from their families. The husband had been taken at the age of 3 and had no conception of family, and the wife had been taken at 8 or 9 and remembered her mother, grandmother, and family life. It was heartbreaking to hear the man talk about how much he appreciated his wife because she knew what having a family was like and was able to explain it to him. That kind of damage is lifelong. And Australia went through a period where the government apologized for taking the children. But then while I was there, I saw a documentary about the government still taking the children because of so-called neglect due to joblessness and alcoholism. In fact, a while ago, I watched a series on Acorn called Mystery Road Origin. It was about a Black fella, that's what they call Aboriginal people, whether they are mixed and not particularly Black in color or not. It was all about a policeman trying to find 2 Aboriginal girls who were missing. Ultimately, one girl had been taken by her Aboriginal mother, who couldn't satisfy children's services enough to get her daughter back legally. And the other was taken by children's services when her aunt was late picking her up from school. There was one real sad older character who was trying to find out who his mother was and what happened to her after having been told he was left on a doorstep by a mother who didn't want him. It was a mystery of sorts, but it also was an indictment on the government for taking Aboriginal children, then and now. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I also saw similar stories about First Nation people in Canada. In Montreal, I read about how the First Nation people were Inuits who used sled dogs for transportation, heat, and protection from other animals. To conquer these people, Europeans killed 20,000 sled dogs. Who knew? And the same thing happened to First Nation children as Aborigines. They were forcibly taken by the government and placed in boarding schools. They had their names changed, couldn't speak their language, lost their families, and had their culture destroyed. Not only that, now they are finding graveyards where children were buried without regard to any humanistic treatment. As it relates to us, Black folk, brought to other lands from Africa and as enslaved people. The stories told in museums about us after so-called freedom are always similar. I don't care what state you are in or even country. Once Black people showed progress, the destruction of thriving Black communities is another common story. Whether it was outright terror, murder, and destruction, like Tulsa, Oklahoma, or displacing the Black people of Seneca Village to build Central Park in New York City, or by using eminent domain to force people off their land for a freeway through the community, like here in Portland and throughout the United States. Did you know there has been a formerly enslaved United States Black community in Halifax, Nova Scotia since after the Revolutionary War? Black folk, free and enslaved, fought for Britain during that war, and when Britain lost, they took those Blacks to Nova Scotia where they were placed on undesirable land. They made a book and movie about that too. See Book of Negroes. Some of those Black folks couldn't stand the cold and later were taken to Sierra Leone. Britain also took more formerly enslaved U.S. Blacks to Nova Scotia after losing the War of 1812. After more than 150 years of living on that undesirable land they called Africville, and after they had made an independent and thriving community out of it, the land was deemed ideal for development and they were forced to leave. Their homes and businesses were destroyed, and most ended up, and still are, in public housing. I found the same story in Black communities in Montreal, and that could have been any city in the United States. All right, now to our museums here in the US. The first museum I will mention will be the one closest to us, and that is the Northwest African American Museum in Seattle, Washington. As the name of the museum says, their exhibits include more than Seattle. It's a relatively small museum in a former school. The Oregon Black pioneers have exhibited there. When they first opened, they had a section dedicated to Portland entertainment and Williams Avenue happenings. And I have seen an exhibit that included Oregon's Black elected officials. I checked their website, and it doesn't appear they have anything about Oregon right now, but they do have a traveling exhibit about Luther Vandross that will be there until mid-July. Interest fee is $8 for seniors, and they are only open Wednesday to Sunday. Even if you miss Luther, keep the museum in mind for your next trip to Seattle. The biggest and most well-known Black museum is the Smithsonian National African American Museum of History and Culture in Washington, D.C. I have visited that museum a few times and always find something that I missed or they were not showing the last time I was there. To be truthful, I haven't been there since the Smithsonian and all Black museums have been threatened by the current administration. But I do have a couple of friends who volunteer there, and they say, so far, nothing about content has been changed, but you never know. The DC Museum covers all of our history from the Middle Passage through modern day cultural and political activities. Its coverage of the civil rights and Black Power movements and our cultural, sport, and entertainment contributions is broad and very enjoyable. I cried at the Emmett Till exhibit, probably because I still remember the Jet magazine article I read when I was 8 years old, and I still remember that picture of him in the casket. I think I always will. However, I did not find the Middle Passage exhibits to be as moving as I would have expected. I found the Middle Passage exhibit at the Charles H. Wright African American Museum in Detroit, Michigan, to be more real. That's the only way to say it. You go down these wooden steps, and at the bottom, you are in the wooden hull of a ship. And to the right, there are slats or shelves with statues of naked Black men chained, lying together in one place, and women and children not chained next to them. In case you missed it, the women and children were loose so that they could be easy prey for the enslavers. There are all these statistics to read about the bad food and no air, filth, rape, and degradation they were forced to endure for months. And all the while, overhead, you hear sounds of moaning, crying, mumbling, and what you might expect from the misery they were experiencing. That made me feel it, and I cried there too. Both of those museums in Detroit and DC are just beautiful architecturally, and they make you feel so proud to know they are ours. I highly recommend you visit them if you are able, and go more than once if you can, because there is no way one can absorb everything in one visit. We just have too much history that has not been told to us. Another museum that merits mentioning is the National Civil Rights Museum at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, where Dr. King was shot down. The museum continues to house the room where he stayed at the motel and the balcony where he died, but has expanded into a museum that tells the story of our enslavement and resistance to slavery over at least 12 enslaved generations, Reconstruction, the rise of the Ku Klux Klan and its terrorism, the Southern Civil Rights Movement to dismantle segregation, the March on Washington in 1963, and the Voting Rights Campaign. But the museum also includes references to Malcolm X, the Black Panther Party, and the Black Power movement. The museum closes with the Freedom Award wall, pictures of the people who have been given the Freedom Award for their fight for civil and human rights, both in the United States and worldwide. But to be truthful, the real reason I wanted this time is so that I could tell those of you who do not already know that I believe every Black person should make a pilgrimage to Montgomery, Alabama. I've been there 4 times because new sites keep being opened. There are the Rosa Parks Museum, the Southern Poverty Law Center Civil Rights Memorial, the Freedom Rides Museum, Dexter Avenue Memorial Church and its parsonage where Dr. King once lived, and most importantly, the sites built by the Equal Justice Initiative, or EJI. Those sites by EJR are the reason I have been back there so many times, and I need to go once more because now they have also built and opened a beautiful hotel and a brand new site honoring Black Montgomery citizens. Have you ever heard of Brian Stevenson? He has a book out called Just Mercy, and Michael B. Jordan played him in a movie of the same name with Jamie Foxx. He's a death penalty lawyer in Montgomery who has taken it upon himself to make public exhibits of our history in beautiful and artistic ways. The horrors of slavery and lynching can only be prettified so much, but he has done a beautiful job with ugly facts. He has told the truth about our mistreatment, and he has done it in ways that elevate your feelings from oppressed, sad, or victimized to recognizing our resilience, beauty, and ultimate strength. His work makes me appreciate being Black and all that we have accomplished. He has built 3, now 4 sites from private donations, so he's somewhat protected from federal intervention, I'm glad to say. Let me tell you about those sites and show some pictures. By the way, the pictures that you've seen were taken from books I purchased when visiting those sites, sometimes from the site's website, and particularly about Alabama, the pictures were taken by Louise Gillette, Onita Turner, Lethea Krasucki, and myself. They are some of the women who were pictured on the flyer for this event, and I'll tell you more about them later. The first Equal Justice Initiative, or EJI, site is the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, the nation's first comprehensive memorial dedicated to victims of racial terror lynchings. It's an outdoor memorial made up of hanging pillars with the names of people who were lynched engraved on them. Each county has its own pillar. Each pillar was duplicated with the intention of it being returned to the county where the lynching took place and installed for all to see. Oregon had one lynching in Coos Bay, and its marker has been installed. The number of pillars from Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, and Louisiana were just astounding. EJI has documented over 6,500 Black people who were lynched from 1877 to 1950. And that's documented. There are thousands more who we will never know. And lynching certainly continued after 1950. Emmett Till was in 1955. These later lynchings are mentioned in the Legacy Museum, which I will talk about next. But at the memorial, when you stand and read the pillars, sometimes there are several last names of people who apparently were all killed at the same time. And then later you read how whole families were wiped out when the one person the terrorists were looking for was not at home. Another time you read a pillar with dates, but no name of the person who was lynched. That is an occasion when a lynching was documented, but no one noticed the person's name. Can you imagine being at a lynching and having such a good time that you wanted a postcard of the event to send to a friend? They made and exchanged such postcards. Here are a couple of them. And after seeing the pillars and reading the names, there are statements posted in the memorial that explain why some of the people were lynched. We have put some of those reasons up for you to see and thought you might like to read them. I'll give you a minute. It's impossible to imagine such violence. It's understandable why people want to avoid knowing these facts, both Black and white. Blacks don't want to face such brutality, and whites don't want to admit they are capable of such inhumanity and brutality. Nearly 25% of the lynchings of African Americans in the South were based on charges of sexual assault. When journalist Ida B. Wells published an editorial challenging the myth of widespread Black on white sexual violence and insisting that consensual interracial sex did occur, white mobs burned her newspaper's offices and threatened to lynch her. She left Memphis. Outside, on the grounds of the memorial, are reader boards with statistics and information related to slavery and statutes depicting what slavery was like. As well as statutes showing more recent resistance efforts. The second site of the EJI that I want to talk about is the Legacy Museum, From Enslavement to Mass Incarceration. You enter the museum by walking through an entryway with casts of the heads of people, old and young, some you recognize, on both sides of the entryway at floor level. These images are in water that you can hear overhead. You're witnessing the middle passage in a very visceral and emotional way. The museum continues with holograms telling you what slavery was like. Again, compared to the National Museum in DC, which is great on our artistic and entertainment accomplishments, I believe EJI's Legacy Museum has more emphasis and information on slavery, segregation, lynching, and incarceration, and it provides hard facts that are not easily accessible to most people. But after learning those facts, you come out into a room filled with beautiful art, depicting our life in various forms. You leave that room and find more art that has been made by children. Overall, I left the museum feeling very proud of what we have accomplished under the most adverse circumstances imaginable. We are bad people, no doubt. Plus, the museum is a beautiful building with a restaurant, bookstore, and gift shop. What I thought was the last site and EJI's newest, until I went on their website a few weeks ago, is the Freedom Monument Sculpture Park, a 17-acre site on the banks of the Alabama River. You can get to it on a 10 or 15-minute cruise down the Alabama River, or you can ride the shuttle bus that EJI provides among all of their sites. Once at the park, you can borrow a scooter to cover the grounds, which my friends and I did. We also had a race back to the scooter shelter, and I want you all to know I won. Back to the park. Quoting from their website now, the park, quote, explores the lived experience of enslaved people in America. World-class sculptures animate an unforgettable journey through history that culminates in a first-of-its-kind monument honoring enslaved people in the United States. Another quote, EJI has created a place where art is a portal through which visitors can see, contemplate, and begin to understand the history of Black trauma in the United States. The park has an art piece that is 2 walls shaped like a book with the names of all Black people in the 1870 census, the first time we were counted as individuals and as people. Black folks chose their names for that census, and those names are engraved on that wall, all 170,000 of them. I found my mom's birth name and my dad's last name, which I still use. Dad said the name Rutherford was my great-grandfather's slave owner father's last name. Supposedly, we came off a plantation in Macon, Georgia. When set free, my ancestors migrated to South Carolina, and ultimately my grandfather and his brother were recruited to come to Oregon in the 1890s to work as room barbers at what was then the New Portland Hotel. On my 3rd trip to Alabama, I made it a Sisters Civil Rights Tour and went with 5 other women. In the picture on the flyer for this call, we are wearing the t-shirt that was made for us on that trip by Onita's sister, Carlotta. From left to right, the sisters are me, then Onita Turner, who was raised here, went to Jeff, but now lives in the Bay Area. Lethea Krasucky from Seattle, Washington, as we met as teenagers in the AME church, me at Bethel here, and she at First AME in Seattle. Louise Gillette, also from here. We actually met on the Soul Train cruise just before the pandemic. Karen Powell, who has lived here, who used to live here, but has lived in Mississippi for about the last 20 years. She and I started the whole Black Museum mission together 10 or 15 years ago. We arranged our own Civil Rights Museum tour itinerary through 5 southern states over a 2-week period. The last sister is someone I also met on the Soul Train cruise, Linnell Spate from Texas. We spent a week throughout Alabama, driving from Birmingham to Montgomery to Tuskegee, both university and airman sites, to Selma and ending in Mobile. In each city, we visited civil rights and historical sites and even had a commercial Black history tour in Mobile. I've got one more EJI site to tell you about. The last EJI site that has been dedicated, I only recently learned about. Brian has now dedicated Montgomery Square in downtown Montgomery, near EJI's new hotel and the museum. There is more art to explore and learn about Montgomery's decade, 1955 to 1965, a decade that changed the world. The square honors the participants of the civil rights movement in Montgomery for leading the struggle for desegregation and voting rights. I must make one more trip to Montgomery to see EJI's new hotel and the art in honor and tribute to Black Montgomery citizens. I encourage you to support Black museums, especially in these perilous times when Black museums have been cut off from federal funding and need all the support they can get. And more importantly, I urge you to go to Montgomery to see the EJI sites. The Legacy Museum has timed entry tickets for $5, and you can use that ticket for the Lynching Memorial and Sculpture Park at any time within a year. All 3 sites for $5. Do you think the brother wants us to come? I hope you take him up on the deal. In closing, I wrote 2 documents that you can find links for in the chat. First, the list of over 80 museums that I can remember that I visited, organized by state or country. And the second, a list of the addresses for the museums I mentioned in the talk. I encourage all of you to look at the websites for these places that I have mentioned. If you are unable to visit those places in person, the internet makes it possible for you to see some of what most of them are all about and what they have to offer, which is a lot. We have a rich and varied history, and knowing it is an empowering and positive thing. As I said earlier, it makes me appreciate being Black. Again, thanks so much for joining the call. I appreciate you and hope you're inspired to get to some of these places. Okay, we're going to open for discussion now. I look forward to hearing your comments, both about Black museums and this talk. I have traveled with many of you, and I know that all of you have something to say. We have about 30 minutes to talk, so try to hold your comments to 2 or 3 minutes only. Turn your cameras back on and set your screen to gallery view. Elijah will say how to do that if there are problems. If you have any problems, raise your hand. Any problems? Thanks again for turning on. Are there any questions or comments? Don't everybody speak at once.
Okay, I'll start. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Charlotte, can you hear me? You
I
need to
see
open up our
you.
mics. Huh?
Lethea, I can't believe you're not saying something. Or Karen, oh, you can't get you need to talk. Okay, you
You need
trying to
to
talk?
open up your mic.
She needs
I hear you, Pat.
no.
Yeah, I
Well,
hear you,
oh, you
Pat.
do?
Yeah.
Charlotte
Oh,
can't
Pat,
see me.
okay. I don't see Pat's face,
Okay,
but great.
I'm here.
Oh, you mean
I've been
click on,
waving
oh.
my arm frantically.
Set your phone to gallery view. I didn't set my own camera to gallery view. All right, I see you all. Thank you. So, Pat, you were going to say something, I hope? No,
Yeah.
I still can't hear you. Hold on. Is that me? Oh, wait, maybe that's me. I'm sorry. My bad. I turned the speaker down. Try it again, Pat. There you go. I hear you now.
Okay. Okay. I was wondering about, I think it may be the newest museum, the one in Charleston. Did you
Oh,
go,
yeah.
did you
Haven't
go
been
there
there
and what was
yet.
your impression?
I haven't been there yet. Tell me about it. Have you been?
No, I haven't been. I thought you
No, I have not. I have not. Has anybody
Okay.
been to Charleston?
Not
Don't
since
nobody
we
say
were
what?
there last.
Huh?
Not since we were there last.
Oh,
Can you
right.
hear
The
me
museum,
now?
yeah, I hear you now. The museum wasn't
Okay.
open then. No. Oh,
Okay. Well,
Copernicus
we'll
made it.
have to
Okay.
we'll
Sorry.
have to do a trip there.
Yeah, we have to
Yeah,
add
One
that to
more
Charleston's
the
on
trip.
my
list.
list, but I
Yeah.
haven't made it yet. My older daughter and I are planning to
Okay. All
get
right.
there.
Cool.
Anybody else? Anything else? All right, Karen Powell, you're my original museum goer. You got something to say?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
As I
Ah, you got on the t-shirt I need. It says museum
yes, I have
nerd.
on my museum nerd. But
Me
I
too.
am remembering the very first trip when we started in Myrtle Beach and
Mm,
then all the trips to Alabama. And I concur with you that the Alabama is well worth it for anybody who's not been there. And I'm going one more time as well. So maybe we'll be able to hook that up.
yeah.
Um,
You want to speak on my beating you on the scooter?
I can just barely hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want me to say it again? That's
Oh
okay.
my goodness.
Never mind.
Um, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, great, great. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Lethea. I went on the Myrtle Beach trip. And the dimension of this traveling to go to museums and so forth might have seemed foreign to some people, but to us, we were all, I think, from an early age, that curious and appreciative and determined to search out our people's culture and history. So it was a no-brainer when Charlotte mentioned she was going to South Carolina, and we we travel on a budget. Some people might think this is too expensive. We travel on a budget. We try to work every angle we can. Um, but one of the best benefits I have found in having a group of women traveling like this is that element of sisterhood, the element of meeting new people. And Charlotte has been very instrumental in inviting people from her circle, and that allows our circles to intersect on these trips. And from that experience, I've met some fabulous women. And I do have to honor Karen, who is my roommate for life. If there's a trip anywhere and they say Karen's going, she knows she better not try to have another person standing in for me when I'm there. Okay.
Fix your camera, Karen. Where'd you go? There you go.
Maybe she can't hear again.
I heard you. It's not a problem.
All right. Anybody else got anything else? Comments, questions?
Did you go to, is there any, I'm getting ready to go to New Mexico. Did you come across any museums there?
Never been there.
Oh, well, guess you didn't.
No, but tell me if you find some, let me
I
know.
will look and see what I can find.
Yes,
Please do. Add to my list.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, Miss Juanita, we see your name.
Hello? Yeah, I'm wondering, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering if you could give the names of the hotels you mentioned, I think in Alabama, Montgomery, the hotels.
If you look on the Equal Justice Initiative or EJI.org, it is their hotel that's right across the street from the museum. And I actually have forgotten what they've named the hotel, but it's all a part of EJI.org. If you go on that website, you'll see all of it.
They're the owners of it, is that right?
Yes.
Wonderful.
He's built his
Okay.
own hotel. It's great.
As you toured around, did you stay in other Black-owned hotels that you could share?
I think the one in Birmingham, Karen Powell, are you listening to me? I don't remember the name of the hotel. I think it was a Black owned. The rest of them, we just looked for what was closest and most reasonable in cost to where we needed to be. I don't think any of the rest of them were Black owned, but there was one in Birmingham, and Karen looks like she fell off, that I don't remember that. Oh no, Karen, you're still
No,
on.
I'm still here, and I can't remember the name
Okay.
of it, Charlotte.
Yeah, me neither. It's too many years ago. But there was, don't you think that was the only one we had, was the one in Birmingham?
I believe so.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, we were just trying to minimize the cost and eliminate distance as best we could when we looked for places to stay. And I don't think we knew the Birmingham hotel was owned by Black people until we were there.
Yeah,
Not
I don't
too
want to
many,
dominate.
unfortunately.
Thank you. I don't want to dominate the questions, but I missed out on maybe the beginning. On the website that you posted, did you discuss how you got to the beginning of your trip? You flew to a certain city and then you rented cars, or how did you do that?
No, I didn't discuss how we all hooked up on each trips. But yeah, generally the way, if I was with just Karen or the larger group, we all agreed what city and hotel we were going to stay at and got there individually. We
We
didn't
had
travel.
some Zoom meetings,
Yeah, before,
regularly scheduled Zoom meetings.
but we were coming from 4 or 5 different states, so we all just got to the same place at the same rough time.
So
But
you rented a car together in the first city and then you drove around. Okay.
Mhm.
technically, we rented 2 cars because there were too many of us and too much luggage for one car. But yes, that's what we did. We had all the plan before we left home. We had the car, we had the hotels, we knew where we were going to go at what time, and all of that was planned and written down, and everybody had a copy before we hit the road.
Did you
And didn't we prepay for tickets to, didn't we prepay for ticket to someplace or either
Yeah, yeah,
reservation?
yeah.
So
Well,
all of
because
that was done also before we
right.
left.
EJI had the timed entry thing, so we had already made up our mind what time to be there. Okay, so my granddaughter raised her hand. Now I've lost her. Soleil, are you still there?
Oh, hello.
Go ahead. Did you
Hi.
have a question or a comment?
No, but my mom does.
Oh,
Hi.
okay. My daughter, Alyasha, neither one of y'all put your pictures up, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Hey, that she set that up. Very nice. I enjoyed this talk so much. I had a question about how this influenced your notion of the African diaspora. The idea that what diaspora means or what is within or beyond the diaspora, how it's useful as a notion of Black identity.
Well, that's a lot of questions. Okay, so first of all, I guess the similarity in how we as Black people or Native Americans or any other colored people were treated is so the same everywhere you go, whether it's in the past or in the present. The fact of um, the fact that people in Nova Scotia have experienced just the same thing that we've experienced in Portland, for that matter, as far as being displaced, removed, otherwise not really considered in city planning. Um, Influenced. I guess I don't know that it influenced me anyway. It just demonstrated what I suspected. I saw in real time what I assumed would be the case, but never really had
Exactly.
direct evidence of it. I don't know. That answer your question, Yasha? Hello? You're muted again. You want to come back on?
Yes. Yeah, that did answer my question. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That reminded me of the emotional part of the experience that I can remember the day that was it EJI where they had the slave, you could stand in front of this hologram of the slave and have these not a conversation, but you were alone. You could sit on a little bench and this person is telling you their experience and immersing you in it. And then the things that you read and the objects you saw, by the time we got out of there, uh, it was clear to me why throughout the exhibit they had the security on double duty like ushers at church with the Kleenex boxes because they would just step to your side out of nowhere because any human with a heart or a soul that walked through there regardless of color, if you did not have any empathy in you, you were going to shed a tear. And you connected with other people who were impacted by it. It was so profound. When we returned to the hotel, we all went to our corners. There wasn't the banter that we would do or where we're going to eat or, what are you doing next? It was none of that. We all had to go and decompress and process that emotional experience. And at the same time, like Charlotte said, we got to go back again because we missed something. We'll see it differently when we go back. And that's what's so fascinating that you don't expect.
Yeah, the emotional impact of all of the exhibits or art or reader boards or whatever you want to call it is serious. Um, but not serious to the extent that it leaves you feeling down. Because
No.
the way he presents the stuff, it really does encourage us to appreciate what we have
Mm-hmm.
accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
The fact we're still here and making things is an accomplishment in and of itself, given all that we've experienced as a people.
You mentioned the closest museum was to
To
Portland,
Portland.
was
True.
in Seattle, and I'm just surprised that you didn't find anything in Oregon.
Well, there is no permanent museum in Oregon, although the Oregon Black Pioneers is in the process of finding a building and making a permanent exhibit for Portlanders. They've managed to secure 500,000 a year for 5 years through the 1803. Is that what it's called? The 1803 fund. I always get those years wrong. And are in the process of making a permanent location, but not yet.
What happened in 1803?
I forgot, but that's an organizational name. They got a lot of money from Phil Knight to do good in the Black community. I
Oh, I
Oh
forgot.
see.
yeah,
Now I see the
yeah. I
Nike people.
did
Well,
see,
that's
yeah,
okay.
I did see that.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
Well,
put some
maybe don't
money.
show Freedom Frontier.
I've tried. For those of you who don't know, Freedom Frontier was the first OPB, Oregon Public Broadcasting documentary about Black folk in Oregon that Pat Wheeler put together as an intern, mind you, in 1976, right?
Right.
And she
75,
didn't sign a
76.
release for you to do. That's what she's letting you know.
They haven't shown
Well,
it yet,
it
but
wasn't
they
very
do.
sophisticated, but it was a good start.
It was an excellent start. And in fact, when they did a documentary called Lift Every Voice in, I don't know, 2000 and something or another, it was about Black people in Oregon from the 50s to 2000, 1950s to 2000. I mentioned your documentary, and they actually went back and found it and
Oh,
excerpted a piece where my dad is talking, which was
oh,
shocking.
really?
Yes, they did
You're
find it.
kidding.
They didn't know they had it, but they did find it and
That's
excerpted.
wonderful.
I thought so too when I saw him because he was in his 40s or 50s at that point. And I'm like, whoa, who knew? You know?
We have a question.
That's wonderful. I'm
Okay.
glad we had several handsome, distinguished people. Shelton Hall, your father, some
Al
other.
Yasha Williams starred in it
That's
as one
right.
of the
Yasha was in
children.
it.
Okay.
Juanita asked, would you say the name of the documentary again?
The one I just named is Freedom Frontier. But the other two that they have done, OPB has done, are Local Color, which was done in the 90s and takes you from the beginning to the 50s with my dad doing a lot of talking, and then Lift Every Voice, which was the last one from the 50s to into the 2000s, which focuses quite a bit on the school boycotts that we threatened at those points in the earlier 90s. Okay.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me? This is Deborah Berry.
Yes. Go
I don't know
ahead.
whether you can see me. I'm technology
Can't
challenged, so I'm not sure you can see me.
we can't
But
see you, but we can hear you.
oh, good, because you have really inspired me. We are going to Montgomery end of
Excellent.
June, and
Excellent.
I'm
Ooh.
going with my son and my granddaughter. I'm
Wonderful.
originally from Alabama, and I figured if I don't take them back to see their history, they'll
Mm,
never see it. So we're going to start out in
great.
Marion, move over to Selma, and go over to Montgomery
Great.
and make sure that, especially my granddaughter, who doesn't know much of our history, she learns because now is the time for her to know.
That's
And
great.
she's already been to Washington, D.C., so I haven't been to as many museums, but it's on our bucket list. And
Excellent.
this
Ex-
information is excellent for me to share with them prior to going.
Wonderful. I'm
When
so
you get to Selma, We did our little walk, on the bridge and took some pictures and stuff. But some people came out from across the highway from
Okay.
the side we were on and
Mm-hmm.
waved us across because there was a grassroots museum that was unbelievable,
Okay.
run by Black people, and the collection they had there was incredible. The people who organized went up against Bull Connor and all that stuff.
Okay.
They had their boots and shoes and different kind of stuff.
Oh, really?
Stuff
Oh,
with all the way through to Obama.
okay. Well, that's
Yes,
definitely on the list.
just at the base of the bridge,
Mm-hmm.
across the other side of the highway. It was an incredible find, don't you think, Charlotte?
It was. The
It
fact that
was.
they were closed, and the man saw us on the other side looking at some monuments they had made to John Lewis and those people, and he yelled at us to
Mm-hmm.
come on over. He opened it up for us. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
Yeah.
And we
okay.
can see you now, Deborah.
You can see me now? Okay.
We
Yes.
can
Good.
see you now.
I
Yes.
have been to that museum and it's very impressive. And did y'all go to the Brown Memorial Chapel where the marchers started from and where they chased them back to?
Well,
Chapel. No, we didn't.
No.
I
In
don't think.
Selma.
Selma?
Yeah.
No.
Well, if
All
you
we did
go
in Selma
back,
was at the foot of the bridge.
right, there's
Uh-huh.
a Brown Memorial Chapel, and that's where they started out from.
Okay.
And then when they first time they hit them back, he said the
Oh,
horses even they
right.
even horses ran up into the chapel. I went on a similar trip, but it was a group that was done for the Montgomery County, Maryland human rights trip, and we went to like 8 cities and saw a lot of the same sites or similar sites. But I just want to say, if anybody is coming to Washington, and I do volunteer at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Right now, the changing exhibition is on HBCUs, which is really very interesting, and they spotlight 6 HBCUs, and not the ones you think about all the time. So. Um, that's very good to see. They just finished one about orchids. I didn't know Black people were so involved in orchids. And oh my goodness, why can't Hope Franklin was very instrumental in raising orchids and had orchid named after him and his wife. So make sure that museum does change a lot of exhibits constantly. So hopefully you'll get into. And if you have any trouble getting in, I can get you in. So
Ooh,
let me know.
good.
Yes.
Yeah.
What, go
Hi
ahead.
again. Yeah. So I was forwarded this email about this Zoom, which is wonderful, by a friend of mine who lives in Vancouver down there, John Olive. I'm up here in Renton, Washington, by
Okay.
Seattle. But I'm wondering about those that you mentioned on OPB. How would I access those now? Is it like opb.org or